What's up, everyone, and welcome to Parked Podcast presented by DGA. I'm Mitch Phillips, and joining me is Zach Harrison. And on today's episode, we're going to be recapping the Waco Annual Charity Open, the Open at Austin, and we're even previewing the United States Women's Disc Golf Championship. So much to talk about. We don't even have time for a guest this week. It's just me and Zach, taking it back to the old Parked days. Unfortunately, Hayden not with us once again. Miss you. I hope you're doing well, buddy. But how are you doing this week, buddy?
Fantastically well, sir. Thank you.
Nice. Very. That's a very British answer. Like, jolly marvelous. We're doing incredible and lovely. One day we'll have the British Open and we'll be able to do the entire episode in an English accent. It'll be great.
That'd be rough. That'd be pretty bad.
I hope not. That would be terrible. But definitely, thank you guys so much. We want to first say before we get going, we just hit 5,000 total plays here on Parked Podcast, which means so much. Thank you. So if you're listening on Spotify or Apple, hit that review button, write us a review, leave us some 5 stars. Let us continue to grow over on those platforms. But if you're watching over here on YouTube, you get to see our beautiful faces, Zach's long, luscious hair, and whatever color 5-panel hat I'm wearing this week. Rest in peace, hairlines. But thank you all for liking and subscribing over there on YouTube as we continue to just grow this thing. It's been awesome. Zach, what's the last hole that you parked?
Well, I'm going to give you the best hole that I parked because this was the first time that I've ever thrown a DGA Quake.
Ever.
Never thrown them in my entire life. Never thrown them in my entire life. I just ordered 3 of them and threw a really bad first shot on this hole, right? Tree off to the side, right? You're in the rough. Then I'm like, well, you know what? I just put this in the bag. Let's give it a rip. And it was at Wills Park, hole 10, straight tunnel fairway. It ends with a little bit of an uphill fade to the left. So I thought it's 275. Let's put it on a flat line. Let's let it fade. And it did exactly that. Skips up the hill, puts itself under the basket, and I'm now a big fan of the DGA Quake.
Yeah. What plastic was it? Was it just a stock Quake?
It is the SP.
Heck yeah.
SP line. Yeah. Stock Quake. I got it for, I think it was like $11.
Yeah. Using that. They're taking advantage of that sale over at discgolf.com, baby. Still going on.
That's it. So I got 3 of them. Woo. 3 discs for $30. When was the last time you could say that?
Probably like 2010.
Exactly.
2011.
Exactly. High school, dude.
And actually, it's funny you say that. I was walking on the Marietta Square here in Marietta, Georgia, and walking by the old store where disc soccer used to be.
Yep.
And inside that old, what's that shop? It was like a memorabilia, like sports shop.
Yeah, it was a sports memorabilia store.
Yeah, and they had a disc golf store in there. And I was walking by and I was talking to Jules and my mom and was like, man, I remember going in that store. Like Hayden bought his first bag there. Like endless amount of discs I purchased there. And I remember I literally got 3 discs for like $29.
Yeah.
Which is like 2011, 2010.
Yeah. Unreal.
Crazy.
Will never happen unless you go to discgolf.com.
Yeah. Right now, the sale's still going on. Head over to discgolf.com, take control of it, add some DGA disc to your bag. Last hole that I parked was not me. I'm gonna try not to park any more holes. I'm just, it
sounds like it, dude.
I'm breaking frisbees last week. I'm not parking shots this week. But my birthday, my 30th birthday, started a new decade. And for my birthday, my girlfriend Julia took me out and she said, I want to go shoot content with you, which is an interesting thing to say. She's an actress. She's literally like has an agent. She's a professional actress. And decided to come play disc golf with me. And definitely follow me over on Instagram at Mitchie_P5. And you get to see this hilarious video of her reviewing the new Frisbee House stamps over at Another Round, which is literally Waffle House on a disc golf disc. And it's hilarious, all on some DGA molds. Definitely pick those up. We'll have a link in the show notes or in the description. But Jules threw this shot. She took a Vortex, which I thought was going to be a great, disc for her. Preface this, she does not play disc golf. This is like maybe the 5th or 6th time she's ever thrown a Frisbee. And we're on hole 1 at Oregon Park. Ripping winds, and she yanks the disc completely over to the right. Grip lock, no form, nothing going on here. She looks great doing it though. I love her. And hits the pole of the practice basket. So no one was there, thankfully, but it cut rolled and just smacked the freaking pole. And she jumped up and down. I was like, I parked it. Yeah. Like losing her mind. It was so funny. So we're seeing the video of it. So she parked it with the Frisbee House Vortex. So Just ridiculous.
Thanks to Jules for some of the best content that Mitch has ever made.
Yeah, I mean, the amount of people in the comments that were like, why is there not more Jules on this page? So hopefully we'll have some more just terrible shots, but great acting, good fun. And I need to only take her out when it's pouring rain or it's like ripping wind. So you never get an actual like bar of how good she actually is. Oh gosh, it'll be good. But another story real quick before we get into the news. I got to shout out Clark over on the DGA Discord. If you're not a part of the DGA Discord, we chat everything DGA tournaments, do some sell and trade, all kinds of stuff. It's a super active community. Really fun time to be over there. But Clark reached out to me, heard the podcast, and said, "Hey man, I heard that you broke your squall. I have another one." And I was like, "What? Heck yeah!" I just got tagged in a random message the other day, and he sent me a picture of it. It was a white version of like this super old circle stamp kind of base plasticky squall. And he sent me a picture of it. I'm excited for it. He's like, "Hey man, I'm going to clean it. It's been sitting in storage and I'll send it out to you." I send him the Venmo, and then he instantly replies back about 4 or 5 minutes later and refunds the Venmo request to me. And I was like, "What the heck? He's just going to give me this for free?"
Mm-hmm.
Nope. About 2 minutes later, he sends me a picture in the Discord messages, and it broke in his hand. There's his thumb like pressed through the middle. So not one, but two old squalls are now broken and like disintegrated. I mean, this disc is 20 years old.
Gosh, yeah,
like,
I was gonna
it
say
makes
it's
sense.
it's
Like,
just getting to the end of its
right.
lifeline.
We've
man.
all seen people had rocks explode in old, Innova DX plastic, but very sad. But I got so excited that I was going to get another one. Nope, it's broken. So shout out to you, Clark, and definitely join the DGA Discord. We'll have a link to that in the description below. But man, let's get into some news. Before we do that, though, what are you sipping on tonight, Zach?
Went back to an old classic. It is 90-minute IPA by Dogfish Head Brewing Company.
Nice.
Really awesome beer. The whole idea behind their like 60-minute, 90-minute, there's a 120-minute IPA is that they ramp up the amount of barley and grain that they put into it to make it nice and malty. And then they constantly hop it for however long the beer is named. So this has been constantly hopped for 90 minutes while they're boiling. Ooh. And so it's very aggressive, right? Most breweries put in a little bit of hop in the beginning and then they just dry hop everything after that for flavor and aroma. But they are constantly adding hops, 90 minutes of boil. It's 9% because the malt has to balance out the aggressive hop. And it's nice. It's fun to drink. It's a little bit old, actually. I went to the store today and I cracked the first one and I knew it wasn't super fresh. Yeah, but it holds up, man. It holds up great.
Definitely. And it takes you 90 minutes to drink it. That's the recommended on the side.
No, you're just buzzed for 90 minutes.
Only 90 minutes. Start your timer, then you can get in your car. God, that's awesome. What about you, I haven't had Dogfish Head in a minute, man. I was at we did the Swanee Beer Fest with the brewery I work at, and we've actually made the top 5 most liked beer out of like 100 plus breweries. Dogfish Head was there actually, and we beat them. Contrast Artisan Ales, baby. But tonight I am drinking. For my 30th birthday, had everyone bring a 6-pack of beer, and I have way too much beer at my house. So if you want to have a cold beer, do some putting, hit me up, come over to the house. I have so much beer at my house right now. But from Julia's best friend, one of my good friends, Abigail, she knew that I liked Kolsch beer, and she went and got one of the originals, the Gaffel. I don't know how you say this specifically. I'm not German, but it is a true Kolsch, and similar to champagne, you cannot call it champagne unless it's in the Champagne region of France. You cannot call it Kolsch, a real Kolsch, unless it is brewed in Cologne, Germany. So this is an absolutely incredible Kolsch. I'm on the website here, and they have some pretty awesome stuff. They have even a VW van that's all painted for the Gaffel Kolsch. But this says, with enthusiasm that has been passed from generation to generation, we've been committed to preserving the traditional art of brewing in the variety of beer specialties typical of their origin since 1908. In doing so, we courageously carry the tried and tested into the future. So Gaffel, a name with tradition. It is just such a crispy, light. We've had some spring weather coming here to the Atlanta area, and man, it's so good. And I love that, like German beers, some of the Belgian beers, they do these 11.2 ounces. The cans and the bottles. So it's just like you can have a nice head on it. It's a perfect pour. Yeah, love this beer. And we got it in an old glass. That is one of my favorite quotes that says, "Life's too short for selfish friends and lousy beer." So cheers, Zach.
Cheers to that.
Mm-hmm. Good thing we got none of those. Come on. All right, into the news. We have some interesting stories here. First one we're going to get into is Chandler Kramer re-signs with Lone Star Disc. Started the season unsponsored, and now is, as of today, re-signed with Lone Star, but then also signs with two more companies, AGL, which is above ground level discs, and also Clash Discs. So I'm a little bit confused on how that's possible, because two of those companies, being AGL and Clash, are open bag companies.
Mm-hmm.
I was sponsored by Clash in previous years, could throw whatever you want. You just had to throw a certain amount of their molds, where Lone Star is a closed back company. What are your thoughts on this, Zach? Where does this kind of make sense? Is this, hey, I played well enough to now deserve a sponsorship? Why was it not just an immediate re-sign? Is this Lone Star saying, we want you to throw our discs? But it's just an interesting space to have this come late and then also have an interesting sponsorship situation.
Yeah, I'm wondering where the push came from. Like if he was getting approached by the companies
Right.
to be sponsored by them, right? Throw some of our discs, right? Be
Right.
open bag, but use us.
Yeah.
Because there are plenty of people who are doing that, but I am also wondering if he was reaching out to these companies
Yeah.
saying, "Hey, I'm open bag, but I'm also willing to chat and negotiate and see what you
Right.
guys are interested in." So I don't know.
I
He's
think it's
been
just,
throwing
yeah.
Lone Star. He didn't stop
He was
throwing Lone
sponsored by
Star.
them last year, and
Right.
what's weird to me, and I wanted to fact check myself before I said this, he hasn't cashed yet on the Pro Tour this year.
Mm,
76th place at Waco, 67th place at Open at Austin, 74th place at chess.com. So
yeah.
it's not like he's playing well enough to just go, oh, now I'm worth the sponsorship. It's not
Yeah.
like that he resubmitted a resume. So I don't know if I don't know the full story on that. I had someone send that to me and say definitely worth talking about. But if you know anything about this or the situation there, definitely send us a DM or comment below on YouTube. Just interesting to see. We talked about at the beginning of the preseason, the infinite clash, these bigger companies that, or smaller companies that are saying throw whatever you want.
Yeah.
But this is with one that is closed bag for everyone else except him, sponsored by Lone Star. And then, but you can throw their other. I don't know. It's a weird space.
Makes me feel good about Gavin Rathbun in
Mm-hmm.
hopes that he can find someone to do this with
Right.
because the boys are still unsponsored and he's playing great.
Yeah. I mean, he is absolutely found himself on lead cards coming off of surgery last year or 2 years ago. I forget when that was. But I
Mhm.
mean, looking at how he's been playing so far, I mean, third place, no, sorry, sixth place at chess.com. Waco had a tough week, but then makes the top 15 at Austin. So, I mean, definitely an unsponsored player being in the top 20. I
Yeah.
mean, that's absolutely absurd. He's already put himself over $3,500 made in 3 events. So, I mean, he's definitely worth, if that's possible, to find a mid-season sponsor, which feels weird to then shift your bag over. You kind of have
Yeah.
to be open bag. It's not like he's going to sign with Discraft and go, okay, your whole bag has to switch in the middle of the season.
Yeah,
It
gotta learn
has to be an
everything
open
new.
bag sponsorship,
Mhm.
you know?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. It
But
is.
yeah, moving on. Zach, take this one. You had posted this one in the doc.
Yeah, so saw it today posted on socials that starting this week, this weekend, and continuing throughout the rest of the year, Gannon Burr, Gavin Babcock, Isaac Robinson, and Alden Harris will be hosting disc golf clinics on their weeks off.
Ooh.
So
In
if
between travel stops.
yeah, so if the
Yeah.
tour isn't happening, they're going to be hosting different clinics in different cities.
Sweet.
So far, they're saying that it'll be about 45 minutes and they're going to cover forehands. Gavin Babcock is mainly focusing on forehands. Gannon's focusing on backhands. Isaac is focusing on putting. And then Alden's going to be offering kind of like a one-on-one Q&A session with
Nice.
anyone who wants to talk about disc golf or talk
Mhm.
about content creation because
Yeah.
he's kind of spearheading all of them
Right.
as
He's
far as
absolutely
content goes.
killing it. Yeah.
So I feel like this is a pretty cool opportunity, especially since the tour it's almost, it's like a traveling circus.
Right.
They go all over town and you can just stop by
Mhm.
when they're in your town.
Mhm.
Um, and an hour or so with pros giving you tips
Yeah.
and answering questions.
Yeah.
That's not something you have an opportunity to do very often. So I thought that
Right.
was a really cool
And with those 4
news.
people, I mean, you have a you have a pro world's champion in Isaac. You have a multi-time winner on the pro tour, uh, and USDGC winner Gannon. You have Gavin Babcock, who's tall and could teach you how to wrestle as well. And you have Alden, is the smoothest thrower and also a complete troll. So like there's like a nice in between of a full vibe. So that is something I want to go to. I was like, we need to send them a
Absolutely.
message and be like, yo, let's go to it. Let's collab with you guys in some way because that's going to be incredible. And you wrote it here too. Yeah, forehand from Gavin, backhand from Gannon, putting from Isaac. So I mean, that's so neat to see pros saying we're going to do something consistent
Mhm.
and be on the lookout for it to grow their brands and to also just connect with the community in a consistent way.
Yeah, and they're just gonna put it on disc golf scene too, so you can just
Mhm.
go through the same way that you sign up for tournaments.
Yeah.
You go sign up for their clinics.
Do you know what the name of it is?
Uh, I think they literally just called it disc golf clinic with the boys.
Nice. I hope it's BOIZZZZZ with the boys.
No, I think they spelled it normally,
Oh, okay.
ironically, because they
Right.
would be the
There
goobs
would.
who do it. Yeah.
Exactly. Goodness. Well, that's all the news we have right now. When we return, Zach already has the worst take at the preseason predictions. And we've had some absolutely insane back to back tournaments in the great nation of Texas. You're listening to Parked Podcast. We will be right back. Spring is officially here, and there is not a better time to pick up some new DGA discs over at discgolf.com with the best sale ever. Half price on almost every disc in stock. Zach, you took advantage of this last week. What discs did you pick up? How are they flying for you?
Just bought 3 brand new Quakes. Have never thrown the disc before, but I needed the semi-overstable mid-range in the bag.
Mhm.
So grabbed a handful. I bought 3 of them. They're half price. I'll never be able to do that again.
Try all the plastics. Why not?
Exactly. So for first throw ever, absolutely pured the line, parked the hole. The flight was so perfect. The glide, I think, is shocking. I think it says it's a 3 glide. I don't believe it. But finish is nice, feels great coming out of the hand. There's something about the plastic that the DGA is making that really stands above. Um, so loving the decision so far. I think I have to go back for more before the sale ends.
Yeah, you got to get park your next one with your first forehand shot because I love using the Quake for forehands. Anything under 300 feet is my go-to. So pick up the Quake in every plastic you could dream of and more over at discgolf.com. And stay tuned in future episodes. We're going to have some kind of discount code coming soon that is being worked on, so we're able to track how you, our listeners, are loving all the sales over at discgolf.com. Thanks, you guys. The Texas Swing is halfway over. We have the Waco Annual Charity Open in the books. We have the Open at Austin done. But first, let's take out Waco. Man, Zach, already with the worst take of the preseason. And I quote, Gannon Burr will not win a Elite Series or Major this year. Man, you lasted a while. We're proud of you. That was a terrible take.
Oh, so bad, man. It was so bad. He's too darn good. I
You're
don't
like,
know.
the
He
putting
got
looks
over
bad. All this stuff. It's like, no, dude.
he got over whatever I saw
Yeah,
in the preseason. Um, the man's on fire. He's got this clutch gene that I
truly.
didn't really expect him to have, man.
Well, no one expects him to have, and he just does it again and again and again.
He's just so cold-blooded, dude.
Mhm.
Gosh, he's darn good. So
Yeah.
I feel bad. I feel like
I'll
an
let you sit
idiot.
in that. Zach's cheering up.
Oh,
It's
I've
okay.
been sitting in it for a week now.
Yeah, over a week. Well,
Over a
Gannon
week at
Bird
this point.
takes down the MPO side of things, and Kristen Tatar in her first tournament of the season takes it down as well. Let's talk about FPO first. Kristen turned a 6-shot deficit into a 5-shot lead in round 3 alone, which is just absolutely insane. There was a couple holes where people on the lead card took triples, where she took, absolute parked birdies, and the control that she had. She was a little bit shaky. The putt was a little bit off. But at the same time, we saw everyone else do that at chess.com. This was her kind of chance to kind of see how she was feeling. But she's back in the driver's seat, and she is definitely in control.
The crazy thing about it was that she wasn't having a heater of a tournament,
Right.
right? I mean, she was playing consistent, which we expect nothing less, but
Right.
she wasn't just blowing everybody away,
No.
you know? But I mean, it's just the beast didn't eat her alive, I think
Right.
is really the saving grace. It was round 3, right? 11 stroke difference
Yep.
crawling back. And like,
Absolutely wild.
how do you catch up with that when like all she has to do is just play safe? She only got I mean, she got 6 birdies in round 4,
Right.
and she still won by 7 strokes.
And
So,
she's one of the only players in the FPO field that shot under par every round, which is
wow.
just comes down to consistency. I mean, she
Yeah,
averaged 1,007 for the event. I mean, and with this ratings update, she did hit the
she's going.
999. She will
Yeah,
be. It is a matter of if. It's not a matter of if. It's a matter of when. She will
it's
hit
one
1,000 rated this year.
100%.
But I mean, for a while there, like you said, watching the round and stuff, she looked a little shaky. Ella Hansen had an insane -8 round in round 2, but then this tournament, I loved having the secondary course. It just was just yin and yang, as we predicted, the lead card switching back and forth in FPO and MPO.
Yeah.
And it's this Ella and Holland battle again at the tops, just consistently in the conversation. And we'll talk about Owen a lot here in a bit, but Owen Scoggins also getting second. And she's the oldest player in the FPO division, but is
She's
just
amazing.
so damn consistent.
She's so
It's
good, dude.
crazy. Like, I thought she was going to win this tournament at one point. I was like, is Owen already going to win? Like, the
Yeah.
way that Kristen was looking, Owen was looking great, and it was wild.
Man, her stats just prove that, like, she really is the most consistent woman on tour
Mhm.
right now,
Yeah.
where her fairway hits constantly up in the high 80s, 90s, 100.
Mhm.
Her circle one percentage, almost always 80 and above.
Yeah.
If you look at her entire tournament, she was 83% C1X. She hit 33 out of 40 C1X putts over the course of the tournament.
Jeez.
It's insane, man. I can't do that
Sure.
without pressure in my backyard.
Yeah.
Not to say I'm a great putter by any means, but just to put it in perspective, like, she's out there and she's not missing anything. She's not
Mhm.
missing a beat ever.
And she's somehow still getting better.
Yeah.
That
Oh, yeah.
Waco shot 15 points above her rating, averaging 995, and still losing by 7 to Kristen, but she's getting better and better.
Yeah.
And for some reason, other players that are 20 years younger than her are still losing to her. It's crazy.
She's just really good at what she does well.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? It's like some guys who are out there. I think Brian Schweberger is a great example.
Mhm.
He knows his game really well, and he plays his game really well, which
Yeah.
is why he's the winningest MPO player of all time.
Right.
Right? He's not a
Truly.
flashy player, but he gets out there and hits lines and makes big putts, and that's what she's doing. And honestly, the crazy thing about this is at Waco, without her third round, which was
Mhm.
945 rated, it was her worst round of the tournament, she would have averaged 10-12 for the tournament
Yeah.
if that round just wasn't counted.
Mhm. And I think that's the difference of, and this is the story of all last year, is that Kristen's bad rounds are some people's best rounds.
100%.
And that's something that you can consistently see. And I mean, she's had such a crazy offseason as well. Like, she literally is signing, like we talked about already, she's signing with Porsche. She's, staying in these beautiful places. Like, she's literally living the life of a professional athlete. I mean, a
Yeah.
luxury Thailand resort. I mean, like, of course, social media, whatever, but like, she's living a true sports star's lifestyle, which is wild to see. But she shot a 1031 rated round at the Beast. And then, she was talking about how the conditions are and stuff. This is a quote from her interview. This is from UltiWorld's article on the tournament here. She says, I try to have the same attitude whenever I come to the course. It doesn't matter what the conditions are. I'm out there giving my best. It's all I can do. Then after the final round, she said, today I felt some nerves and I felt like it was showing in my throwing, but I came through. even though my throwing wasn't as good as it was the other days, I feel like my putting was better. So it's
Mm.
interesting to see when one thing is not as good, the other is better. So she still has this even just pace that is just
Mhm.
unmatched. Um, there's so much consistency in her game.
Yeah,
It's
you
wild.
just don't see that everywhere else. Because I mean,
Mm-mm.
compare it to Hina, for example. I
Mhm.
was looking at some of her stats, and she finished tied for 6th place. She's 12 strokes off the lead, off Kristen, but she was leading the field in fairway hits, circle 1 in regulation, and circle 2 in regulation. So all 3 driving statistics, she's got the lead, but her C2 putting was 7%,
Mhm.
2 out of 28 putts. And then her C1 wasn't any good either. I think it was actually, where did we finish here? Yeah, 54%.
Yeah, that's
So
not.
when you're only making 60% of all the putts that you have,
Mm-mm.
it's just never going to take you to the top, right? You
Yeah.
can land in the top 10,
Mhm.
but you're not going to be winning against Owen and Kristen and even people like Holland who are
Yeah,
cashing putts from all over the place.
truly. When Holland's step putt gets going, it's deadly. But let's
Pretty
talk
amazing.
about speaking of deadly. There was a cut here. This was the first Elite Plus of the year, 4 rounds, and there were some serious notable names. We'll talk FPO and then we'll get into the MPO cuts afterwards. But here's some of the names in the who's who of disc golf that didn't make the cut: Katrina Allen, Sarah Hokum, Jennifer Allen, Paige Shue, Holly Finley, and Madison Walker all missed the cut in FPO. I mean, those are some big names that just didn't have what it took to make it done. And it just consistently shows that the names that we've known for so long, and even the names we know now on the MPO side, there was a world champion that didn't make the cut. Um, where everyone was thinking Waco's like, ah, it's just short course, whatever. The addition of this other course let the players that are throwing further, let these bigger names pop up, um, and but also falter. So interesting to see them not make the cut. I want to see how that kind of plays out, and maybe in future DGPT plus events, maybe those same players don't make the cut when it comes down to it. I love the addition of the 50 and 40% cuts of the field heading into the
Yeah,
final day. I think it puts more drama on it and it gives another storyline alongside it.
I agree.
Um, let's
Yeah.
take it into MPO. Our champion Gannon Burr, but man, it was a close one. It was an extremely close one. It came down to the final hole, and Luke Humphreys, something about Waco, man. Last year, he made a run as well, and just really clean golf. He had no flashy, insane numbers, but he's such a likable guy, and
Yeah.
it's just hard not to root for him. And I'll go ahead and say it: if Isaac isn't playing great, Luke Humphreys is the second best Prodigy sponsored player. Like
100%.
he
Hands
really
down.
is. Ezra Robinson isn't as consistent as I think he can be yet, but like people forget that Luke is here to play and see
Yeah.
him more of a content host, whatever. But like he was in the conversation until the final hole of this tournament.
Gosh, and it was so close.
Hmm.
I mean, I felt it for him when his tee shot went through the slingshot of a tree.
Hmm.
I mean, it was like nervy
Yeah.
feeling. I heard in an interview he was saying that he was just going for it.
Yeah.
He
Why
had
not?
just had like a really hard s death in the family, and so that's what he was thinking about, and he said it
Hmm.
was just, hard for me to kinda clear my mind, but I knew he was with me, so I just threw. I was just throwing the Frisbee,
Yep.
and, he said it didn't really set him up exactly where he wanted it, and he went OB on that 2nd shot.
Yeah.
Um, here's something, we'll touch on it just for a second. It was actually really interesting. He said that the spotter told him, actually, it was a random guy
Hmm.
told him that his disc didn't cross inbounds on the front of that green when it like curled.
Hmm.
He saw it curl, and the players had no idea if he touched inbounds or not. Right.
Yeah.
And so he ended up taking it all the way on the other side of the green, the back side of the green, which
Hmm.
added it doubled the distance to the pin that he had
Yeah.
to now putt for par. Yuli was saying in a situation like that, if the card doesn't know and there's not an official spotter, you give it to the player.
Yeah.
It was a random guy. He has no idea who that guy was. The guy has no official status at
Yeah.
all.
Could have been the biggest Luke fan ever and just wanted to talk to him, or could have just been trying to get in his head.
Yes,
which
he's a
honestly,
Gannon fan.
I'm for it. I'm for it. I'm for the fans getting involved in some way. When you think about the yelling and the heckling and the craziness of some sports, like I think it's not a bad thing. It's part of something that's going to happen as your sport grows,
Yeah.
but it's something our sport's not used to.
But I think when it comes down to where you take your lie,
Mhm.
I would be mostly confirming with my card. I don't
Oh,
really
for
want a
sure. I'm
lot
not
of
listening to
outside
some random
input,
person for a
un
rule.
unless it's a spotter.
Yeah.
But even sometimes the spotter's like, "Double flag, I don't know what's going on. I want
Right.
you guys to decide." I
Mhm.
think that's a really good rule because then it goes to the player. It's the only rule in all of the PDGA that goes to the player.
Yeah.
If there's a tie, essentially, right? If there's no decision that can be made, it benefits the player always.
Mhm.
So I thought that was interesting because he almost cashed his putt for par, which would have pushed him to a playoff.
Yeah.
And I'm imagining if that putt was half the distance, 50 feet instead of 100 feet,
Mhm.
he has a much better chance of making it. But
Yeah. And I mean,
I
this
thought
the
that was an interesting
storylines
point.
of for sure of Prodigy Presents Waco was wild. Our lead card after round one had Greg Barsby and James Conrad on it, with Ezra Robinson one back and Sexton two back. I mean, we had a Garrett Gurthey in the top 10. I mean, it was a crazy, crazy place to be. I mean, Barsby having an early tee time and just being able to have, already in the clubhouse at a 12 down and then setting the pace. Like, that's what I love these older courses, if you will, on tour that give that is players like Barsby that are not the furthest thrower. He can throw a mile, don't get me wrong, but not
Yeah.
compared to some of these top guys now. He's still in the conversation. It was awesome to see Barsby on lead card, see James, and see I miss their play styles. Like those are the
Yeah.
guys like I remember when Greg winning world championships and then getting to play around with him a couple weeks later at a local course. Like those are the players that like we have connections with that we watched when we were first starting playing. So it's cool to see their names in the conversation again. But another name that was just pushing the entire time, especially in the final round, Niklas Antala. I mean, and Kyle Klein. I mean, listen, we'll just get to this point already. Discmania is here to play this year.
No doubt.
Their Sky team of Gannon Bird, Niklas Antala, and Kyle Klein, there's not a better top team right now. I think last year it was Discraft definitely had it with the finishes and everything. But when it comes to consistency, the new guard is here, and it's Gannon Bird, Niklas, and Kyle Klein. There's not a
Yeah.
question about it.
I think if there were a manufacturer's cup,
Oh,
they
for
they
sure.
would be they would be leading
Hmm.
far and
Which
above everybody else.
you do say that. And thank you to Tour Life because they posted this. And this is something that I kind of want to keep, on the radar. It's super cool. We've talked about it before. Big Formula One fans. The Constructors Championship is something that I love. The Manufacturers Cup, if you will. They're actually doing this and showing some of this stuff. So literally after the Open at Austin, we'll get to here in a bit. Discmania is leading that total points. And in second place,
Ah,
Discraft, and third place, Prodigy. So that's just going to keep happening. Discmania is going to be the Red Bull of this year. I think their sponsor players are just at the top of the game and they're growing and they're up and coming. And it's awesome to see a new signing already do well when we thought wrong. But going into the final round, there were 7 players within 2 strokes of the lead. Or sorry, with 2
I
strokes of one another. Sorry, it was just a bunch of the top,
yes.
um, which is insane. Like the difference of FPO, which there can be 20 strokes between the top 5, but this is the kind of golf, and this is the exciting thing that makes you want to watch live disc golf, and also shows that it's anyone's game any week.
Yeah. It's such a strong field. It really is. And the courses lend themselves to a lot of swings,
Mhm.
right? The stroke swings, that is what I love about places like Brazos East,
Yep.
places like the golf course, the Laco course.
Mhm.
Um, it's amazing when there's no idea, right? You
Yep.
you really couldn't predict it. It's so
No way.
hard to predict this outcome. Um, I this really does. I think it proves to me that the beast has to stay on tour,
Mhm.
right?
Agreed.
They're adjusting it to add the golf course, but I don't think this course should go anytime soon
No, I love it. It's
because of the
different.
people who get up and get to play.
Mhm.
It's pretty incredible.
It's a spectator friendly second course too. I think the hype builds around the
Yeah.
beast. People love that course, and then you come back in it. But continue to talk about Niklas, similar to Luke, super clean overall, other than his C2 putting, which usually he's an insane C2 putter. That's
Yeah.
usually what puts him in the conversation. But his final round was absurd. He shoots 11 under final round alongside Anthony Barella, who jumped 11 spots to finish in the top 5 as well. But the bogey on 17, he throws and it gets onto the green, and he didn't even try to run the putt. He knew what he had to do was just to lay it up and take the bogey, and that kind of set the bar because he came from third card, was it? I believe it was third card he came from. Second card. He was on chase card.
Yeah, he was the bottom half.
Yeah. Sorry, Kyle Klein was along in that conversation of the third card, which is just crazy. Like for him to continue and these guys making jumps where Kyle Klein was a chase card champion here last year.
Right.
Seeing these guys just make moves from cards where it doesn't matter because the field is so close. You can be on third card and only be 3 strokes back heading into the final day. And I love it. Again, the reason to watch live disc golf, DGN is doing such a good job of putting cameras all over the place. And shout out to Jomez now that they're able to work with the Disc Golf Pro Tour. That coverage covers so many more just people that are popping off, and I love it.
Yeah.
It's incredible. So
one thing I thought was really interesting was the rounds that Niklas lost momentum, like against the field. Second round, he shot 5 down, 1032 rated.
Wow.
And he drops 2 spots on the leaderboard. After a 1032 rated round.
Yep.
Dropping spots. Then in round 3, he shoots a 1043 rated round, drops 2 more spots on the leaderboard.
Yep.
Right? Like the consistency of these guys to win is absolutely ridiculous.
To win on the Pro Tour right now, you have to be averaging 1050 plus.
It is
averaging 1050 plus.
mind-blowing.
It's crazy. I mean, over 4 rounds, 37 under was the winner there for Gannon Burr. And I mean, the electricity of him putting that final putt in and the full scream.
Huge.
And it was just absolutely incredible. A quote from him at the end. He said, "I went from feeling like I was going to win it early on the front 9, but then in the middle stretch, I got a time warning and a dead center spit out for birdie. Then with another bogey and an early tree hit, after that, I knew I had to go perfect. And he birdied 4 out of the last 5 to seal the win. I mean, Antal had a 3-stroke lead. It was at one point. So it was crazy. I mean, like I said, hole 17, he sets the mark. And then, gosh, man, Humphreys again, so close. But I thought it was great. I really enjoy Waco. It's one of my favorite tournaments of the year. And some people didn't love the golf course. I liked it. I liked the back and forth. I think it flipped it back and forth, and it was a true course where you didn't have to birdie everything, but it was possible to do so. So there were decisions to be made, and I enjoyed it. So that is wrapping up there at the Waco Annual Charity Open. Let's head to the next tournament. We're going to recap here the Open at Austin. Man, for the first time in history, Niklas Antila becomes the first Finnish player to win an elite or major on the Disc Golf Pro Tour. Man, I cried. I literally
the Finnish
cried.
national anthem right now.
Please. I think it was like middle of the morning or something when that final putt went in for him. Like, but
like
you know, the whole
yeah.
country of Finland just lost their minds. Like, I watched the Jomez coverage the day after, and man, I literally was sitting at my desk and I was tearing up. Like the embrace of all of his Finnish brothers and just what that means to the country of Finland, to all these guys who sacrifice so much to actually do it. I mean, we watched him live almost win United States championships. And then now to do it here at the Open in Austin on the same way too. I mean, literally the week before he's setting the bar and he's got to hit the final putt and doesn't. This time he does. Back-to-back tournaments, we have the final putt to win it. Like, there's nothing more exciting in golf to go, I have to hit this putt to win this tournament.
It's like a buzzer beater.
Truly, it is. It has the same emotion.
100%.
And that final round was absurd. He hits a 50-foot hyzer putt on hole 17. That putt on 17 was ridiculous.
Dude, like, he was hype too.
That putt was so far. And his putt goes, he switches. He goes from the push putt to the spin. And I mean, he literally had the lead going to last holes. And you got to think it's in his mind going back to Waco when he had the lead going into hole 17 when he bogeys for all the way from third card and not win, end up costing him the chance. But then he puts the ice in the veins, hits it on 17, and this time he holds off a third card charger of Kyle Klein. So I mean, it's just like I said, it doesn't matter what cards you're on. You got to hit huge putts on the last hole to win.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Under pressure. You got to be able to perform under pressure.
Yeah, and I think this is not the end, like we already said. Kyle Klein, Gannon Buhr, Nico Santola, those three guys, I'm going to say it now, are going to win the most tournaments this year. Between the three of them, you combine them and they'll be more than any other people. I don't see it any other way. Those are the three guys that are working harder than anyone else and have the full game. And also, Niklas bombs, dude. It doesn't look it, but brother throws smooth. So far. It looks like it would go nowhere. Like,
yeah,
it's crazy. It's crazy to see him. But some other highlights, I mean, like I said, Kyle Klein just going absurd to almost take it. I mean, it was so close. Again, one stroke. He shoots 12 under in the final round.
That final round was nasty, dude. 0 bogeys with 10 birdies and an eagle.
It was 10 through 11.
Gosh, damn.
Like, just disgusting. And that was a 1087 rated round for him to get second place. And he jumps up 7 spots. I mean, the stats from there, he went 11 of 12 from C1X, 2 out of 2 from Circle 2. I mean, he was 94% on the fairway. I mean, he was just locked in 1087 the final round.
Here's something else. What I think is a little wild is that the last 3 par 3s on the course, they didn't play.
It was a shortened
12, 15, and 16.
Yep. Sorry, I mentioned that. Yep.
Are all par 3s, and they didn't play them. So on the scorecard, it says that they're just pars. But again, it's more scoring separation opportunities.
Yep.
So you never know if the conditions would have allowed them to play those holes. You never know where things could have gone because Kyle was 1 stroke behind.
Right.
Calvin,
and the pace, he was 12 through 15, dude.
Yes.
2 birdies, 3 more.
That's it.
Yeah.
Like there's almost no catching. But then, I mean, you have Calvin who was only 2 strokes behind Niklas.
With no forehand, by the way.
Yeah. Ridiculous because scrambling without a forehand, I don't know. I don't know how you do that. Not in Texas.
No. Final round, Calvin shoots 10 under. And ready for this stat? 4 of 4 C1X putting. Because dude was parked so many times. 4 of 4 C1X putting. His average putt was only 14 feet.
Yeah, he parked 7 out of 15.
Like, what? Dude, how was your putting today? Well, I only had to putt 4 times. So
yeah, I didn't putt.
I didn't putt.
Third place.
The best putting is no putting. But good to see him back in the top there too. But man, again, Kyle Klein, back-to-back tournaments, trying to make it happen. He will win very soon as well. Another person in the conversation, Anthony Barella. That's someone else that's here to definitely make it happen week after week. A tournament that, like, it's weird because this course, I love the redesign. This course felt like it was 2 courses. It really did. Like, there were people who would shoot a great front 9 or not a great back 9, vice versa. But I liked that there were so many birdie or die holes that were so technical on this course. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, and I mean, scrambling was a nightmare most of the time.
Yep.
But it's so cool to see what's happening. The fact that, I mean, AB also had 0 OB strokes. I don't know who else did that. Only 3 other people did that.
Wow.
So that says a lot. He was hitting 100% of fairways at the end of the tournament. On the week, he had 81. So he really turned it up in the third round. AB did. Yeah. But really, it's just AB needs to get his putt from circle 2, and then he's climbing because he only had 1 out of 6 in the final round that sunk from circle 2.
And you look at how he won chess.com. He was either parked or he was hitting that 35-footer with that step putt. It got hot and he was unstoppable.
His step putt is great when it's working, but he starts sailing it or it goes nose down on him and it just drops before it gets to the cage. But
yeah,
it's cool to see.
Shout out to someone who is an insane putter, Andrew Marweed on the lead card after the first round. DGA's own shoots 10 under first round, puts himself on the lead card. Ended up finishing in the top 10, I do believe. Where's it at here? Yes, he did finish in the top 10. He finished sixth, tied with teammate Cole Redallen, both at 23 under overall. And we talked about it, what it takes to win. He averaged 10.55, Cole did, and Marweed averaged 10.52, and they finished sixth. To win this tournament this week, 10.63 rated to win the Open at Austin.
If I could
and
have
to do it in the dark, bro. The final
10.63.
putt from Niklas was in the dark. Like there was like headlights like aiming at him to light up the basket.
Sheesh.
It's crazy. So absolutely ridiculous finish. Congratulations to Niklas. Congratulations to the whole country of Finland. Man, it puts such a big smile on my face. Hayden and I being able to commentate on the Prodigy Disc Pro Tour years ago and watch the endless battles of him and Vaino and Jesse and these guys and Tuomas Hutiainen, like watching those guys so young and now be in America and then see them just the most joyful, most kind people ever to win one for their country is so special. So hopefully more to come.
Yes.
Take us FPO.
Yeah, man. I really went off on some FPO stats because of how fun it was to watch this tournament.
Mm-hmm.
Seeing Kat Merch shocked that she was in first place after round one. Loved it. Had no clue. Super jazzed. And then I want to say the whole name that I put in the doc here, but I'm just going to say own freaking Scoggins.
Own mother beep Scoggins, baby.
Yeah.
I mean,
she's so good,
bro,
Mitch. What is happening?
We've talked about it already. She averaged for the event 10.29 rated golf. And for the first time in history, she breaks the record, for the highest average rating of any FPO player in history.
Unreal.
Like, what?
Dude. The fact that she won by 11 strokes, that is Kristen level status.
That's like you win a C tier by 11 strokes. Like,
yeah.
Oh yeah, everyone's out of town and I popped off.
Exactly.
Like, you don't do that on the pro tour.
No.
Like, dude, between first and fifth was 16 strokes. Like,
get out of here. Get out of here. That's unbelievable. Insane. So here's some stats. Here are my favorite stats from own mother bleeping Scoggins.
Zach stats. Let's get it.
First in fairway hits, right? You got to be on the fairway if you're going to score. 87%. Parked 24% of the time. Tied with Henna for circle 2 in regulation, 78%. Strokes gained from the tee to the green, 22.3 strokes getting to the green in the woods.
Which is usually where it doesn't matter as much because her putting's so good.
Exactly.
But the fact that she gained 22 strokes tee to green.
Everything as far as shaping those fairways and putting herself in position, she's nailing it.
Mm-hmm.
Then add on the fact that she putted from circle 2, 39%. 39% of her strokes were in. Tell me that you stand 40 feet away and you take 10 strokes. Yeah. How many of those go in? Right? Maybe 4. Now you put yourself in a pressure situation. You put yourself in the woods. You add 10 feet every now and then, right? She's destroying the greens everywhere she is. She's just sniper. And then you add the fact that no one else is really that effective from circle 2 in FPO, right? Like there are a lot of good putters out there and I have some shout outs for people, but gaining strokes from circle 2 is insane when you're in the FPO because not a lot of people are doing that.
Not at all. I think let's jump on the putting still. Eliezer, longest average putt distance at 16.9 strokes, which is interesting. 16.9 feet. 16.9 feet, which is interesting because that's the longest average putt distance. And that in the FPO field, there are some players that miss some very short putts. So the average putt, I feel like, goes down by a lot compared to maybe in MPO, the average putt distance maybe is 25. It's just not as putts aren't being hit as much. But for her to be that known as a extremely long thrower, learning week after week, that shows a lot of promise that she can walk away. And yes, she did end up with 20 OB strokes in the tournament. She's got to learn how to scramble. 1 out of 18 scramble attempts. I mean, that's not good, but
No.
that she can walk away and go, she's learning. Okay, maybe
Yes.
this week it wasn't the OB, maybe the drives were a little bit off, but this week I had the longest average putt distance, and that's something to continue and build on week after week. So I think that's an awesome stat there to have.
Yeah. And it just proves that she needs to rein in her power a little bit, right? And
Sure.
especially when you're in the woods, right? It's
She's
not
also
all about
learning
power.
these courses.
Yeah, first time she's ever really seen everything out there.
Mhm.
So it's only a matter of time before
Yeah.
she can kind of dial it in.
And she's
Um,
committed. I was talking to Gage on the phone, the producer here of the podcast, and he was telling me that every time he's leaving the course or getting to the course, Eliezer is there. She'll
wow,
finish her round and she's putting. She'll practice. Like, she plays more disc golf than anyone else on tour.
she's
She is
grinding.
hungry. She is absolutely ready to be the best that there is. And to see a player that's as young as she is put in the effort like that, it's only a matter of time that we see. I mean, I think to like Eagle McMahon when he was super young and came out of nowhere at
Yeah.
DDO. And then what, 2 years? Oh, from that, maybe 3, he was winning, major winner. Like, those kind of people that have the heart and have the love for it and have the time to put into it and are putting in more than anyone else, you're just going to see that chart keep moving to the top right corner.
Someone else I thought who displayed a lot of maturity this weekend was Kat Murch. Being on lead card, still keeping things nice and relaxed. Her putt was looking smooth. She didn't really show a ton of excitement when she was cashing big putts or making great drives, kind of still like goofy and fun, but she's really just in the zone, which was really awesome. And I mean, she was leading the tournament for a lot of it, or at
Yeah.
least right
She
there.
went into the final round only 2 strokes back from Owen.
Yeah, and so she was there, and obviously Owen just gas pedaled her way through,
Yeah.
and Kat did struggle in the final round.
Mhm.
It kind of beat her up a little bit, and she ended up dropping a few
I mean,
spots on the
difference
leaderboard.
between her and Owen in the final round was 16 strokes.
16 strokes. So it was only
Like,
a matter of time. It was
Owen
really
could
the
have not
OBs.
showed up and won.
Yeah.
It's crazy. But yeah,
Yeah,
the OBs.
The OBs really torched her in the final round. I mean, she had 3 OBs, but those led to 2. Well, actually, it was 1 double bogey and a
Mhm.
triple bogey.
Let's talk about the OBs real quick on this course. When you have a wooded course, we'll talk about them too as we preview the United States women's. Wooded courses and out of bounds in the woods. When it's rough woods, do you think it's worth punishing the player? Is when you already have a super tight fairway and then, hey, I skipped too far. Oh, I hit a tree and now I'm out of bounds.
Right.
How do you feel about
So
that?
so I think it is up to the TD to determine if that rough is too rough.
Hmm.
Because you have to think about timing,
Yeah.
right? If you
Or
go
flooding
into
area or,
Yes,
anything.
exactly,
Yeah.
right? So if you go into this area and you're not going to be able to get out in one throw,
Mhm.
as a TD, you just give them the OB stroke,
Yeah.
right? I'm saving you a stroke because otherwise you wouldn't come out to this fairway, right? You wouldn't make it out. So there is that, right? You're
Mhm.
you're saving them strokes, you're saving the time of what it would take to get in there and play the disc and everything like that. Um, if it's not an issue like that, I don't think it's necessary because natural OB is a thing. You're
Yeah.
going to have courses where there's a wall of trees, and if you end up behind it, good luck, right?
Yeah.
It's bad position, and you get naturally punished by the course. So
Right.
it's not necessary all the time, but I will say it is definitely necessary some of the time. I think they did a pretty solid job here in Austin.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you're right. I think it did a good job. I think the course redesign really lent itself to that, and I think some of those when we were watching some of the, watching it live, I don't think the OB came into play as much when it was like, oh, you had a bad kick and now you're out of bounds, but it was more of if you tried to bite off too much. If you were too
Exactly.
aggressive, there was specific landing zones on some of these par fours to where they were really tough. I think it was hole 6 was like one of the harder holes on the course. Let's see. Yeah, hole 6 was the hardest hole on the course for FPO, averaging 1.29 over. par. It was only a 535-foot hole, and I believe, MPO as well. It was the hardest hole on the course. Was hole 6.
Oh, yes. This is the one that Owen almost got an eagle on in
Yeah.
round 3. She almost threw it in for eagle and had a tap-in birdie. She was the only birdie on the entire day.
C1 in regulation for MPO, 11%. Out of 104 people, 11 people. FPO, 6%. 3 out of 51 people were in circle 1 on a 535-foot par 4. That goes to show, could be 2 things. 1, everyone's shanking a tee shot. 2, this hole's too hard and it needs to be redesigned or needs to be broken in my opinion. When you have a hole that's short, the technicality of it, maybe there's some things to tweak, but also it's a new course. People are learning it. People were going too aggressive. People were getting punished.
Yeah.
But to see on MPO and FPO playing as the hardest hole, yeah. Was it the same tee? It had to be the same tee, the same distance.
It's the same distance. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, there were a lot more birdies on the MPO side.
Right.
Right. And Owen is not the farthest thrower in the FPO field. So it's not about getting distance. It's about placement.
Yeah.
And I don't know. Maybe it's too hard, but shoot, if you can just place the shot.
Yeah. Owen birdied that hole 2 out of 3 times. On hole 6 in the FPO field, there were, I believe, 5 birdies the whole weekend.
5 birdies total.
And Owen had 2 of them.
Gosh, that's sick.
Mm-hmm.
She's so good, dude.
That's wild. That is absolutely wild to see. So overall, I think Open at Austin last year was kind of a snooze fest, the way the course was set up. This year, loved it. I thought it
was way
provided
better.
So much just excitement. And even though people were like, oh yeah, someone's going to win by a lot, maybe you don't want that. But to see someone like Owen do it, and the way the FPO field is shaping up, and you have a lot of players that are trying to make a name for themselves this year that are working harder than ever. Your Ellas, Holland, these people that you're expecting to get their first win on the Pro Tour. Owen is still here to play, and she's here to break records. The fact that she beat a record, which I would assume was probably held by Kristen, I don't know the fact check there previously, but 1029 average is crazy.
Yeah, it's pretty unbelievable.
So one of my favorite tournaments of the year. That one's going to be hard to beat in my book, to be able to, gosh, such a good tournament. Loved it. But our third event here in Texas, the United States Women's Disc Golf Championship, the first major of the year. Before we get into this, I got to say, I miss Champions Cup. I already wish that Champions Cup was next month.
Dude, it's so sad.
It's sad. I like having majors early in the year. Let us know in the comments below this YouTube video. Let us know what you feel about the way the schedule's set up. We have so many majors on the back end of this season. It's going to get exhausting. But having a major this early in the year, I think it's a great thing. We are still in Texas, in Austin, at Sprinkle Valley. Brand new course. Was only 9 holes in December. Since December, in 3 months, they have put in another 9 holes. Gosh, absolutely incredible. Zach, talk us all about this Sprinkle Valley course.
Yeah, so they've been putting in a ton of work. And I mean, the cool thing about this Women's Disc Golf Championship is that it's almost playing like a Worlds, where there are juniors, there's the MA division or the FA divisions.
Love it.
It's really interesting because they're having to put in so much energy on one course, but at the same time, build up enough other courses where you can fit like 500 players, right? So I really like how this course also lends itself to standard Texas golf, where you're in the woods. There's a lot of elevation, mostly natural OBs. You're getting some artificial OB because they have some open holes and they want to make sure that there's room for spectators and things like that. But I think it's going to lend well for women's golf specifically because the distances aren't extreme, right? Similar to what we were talking about for the Open at Austin. It's not overly difficult as far as gathering distance, but what you really need to have are placement shots. So there are only 8 par 3s on the course.
Yeah.
And 7 par 4s, 3 par 5s, And the
Hmm.
coolest thing about it, in my opinion, is that hole 18 is probably going to be the most difficult hole with the most scoring separation of the entire
Whoa.
course.
I'm looking at the caddy book right now. That is a wild looking hole.
Dude, so the idea is like you're shooting through the gap, and then there's tiers. You have
Yeah.
to climb 2 or 3 tiers, and then at the last tier, as you're going over the hill, there's a giant OB section before you get to an island green.
Yeah. Here we have it on screen. If you're watching on YouTube, you can see it there. 780 feet, par five. And it looks like a puzzle piece.
Yeah, unreal. Unreal. So you can play it safe and, like, go to the left, but look at
Mhm.
how pinched off you get if you go to the left.
Wild.
Right? The best play would be to go forward, like, go straight and then go over that tier and try to
Mhm.
attack the green because, I mean, it's totally gettable if you can just lace it, but look how tight it gets. I'm
Yeah.
just thinking, like, there's gonna be so much of a differential here. It's gonna be a really exciting finishing hole,
Mhm.
especially for that final round,
Agreed.
which will be round 4 because everything starts Thursday, the
Yep.
21st.
Yes, indeed. Yeah, it's going to be awesome to see. I think let's talk about favorites. Let's talk about some storylines heading into it. The point standings right now is our top three are actually Own at 261 points, Evelina at 237, Missy Gannon at 212, and Tatar at 210. With Tatar missing one of those events, which is crazy that she's already in the top four with only playing 2 out of 3.
Yep.
Um,
Gosh.
Holland at 5, Henna at 6, Natalie Ryan 7, 8 Ella Hansen, 9 Kat, and 10 Rebecca Cox. So there's some obvious choices here. We got to talk about this because I mean we love some historic things happening here on this podcast, as any disc golfer does. If Kristen Tatar wins this, she becomes the first player in FPO history to win 6 in a row, to win 6
Gosh, man.
majors, which is just
In
absolutely wild.
Because you also consider that in the field, it's only getting better. The players
Mhm.
are all improving. So the fact that this has never happened in the past when fields
Yep.
were smaller and maybe not as talented, it
Right.
says so much about her and her skills.
Mhm.
I'll be
It really
honest
does.
though, I don't know if I pick her.
Really?
I think she aligns well with any golf course, but dude, 100%, I think Own has the best chance of taking this one.
Yeah, I could see it. There's a lot of forehands, a lot of placement shots.
Flex lines.
Yeah, I mean, it's still the woods, but I mean, gosh, but it comes down to consistency over 4 rounds. I mean, they're the top 2 for sure.
Yeah.
Um, I think it's probably between them. I really do. Missy Gannon maybe, but she doesn't
Yeah.
have a forehand.
I
She's
could
mainly a
see
backhand player, and I feel like you need that shape. She throws thrashers incredible. She can throw the slower speed stuff on some turning, but I just don't see anyone else in the conversation other than Owen and Kristen.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, I would wanna put Holland up there because of her abilities on both sides of the disc.
Mhm.
I think Evelina may just be a little wild at times, but, I
Yeah.
mean, she did great at Waco. She's doing pretty well at in Austin, so I don't know.
Yeah.
But honestly, my pick is Own. If I'm putting money on it, I'm gonna put it on her
Yeah.
again because of her consistency.
Heck yeah. I think it's definitely comes down to consistency. It's the first major of the year. There's going to be nerves. There's already exhaustion. Kristen was talking about it in the press conference
Mhm.
today. She's literally said, "I feel fatigued. I haven't been sleeping well." I mean, she's feeling it, and she's been only playing 2 out of the 3 tournaments. So if she's already feeling that way, I mean, you'd hate to see some kind of a slump come. I don't think that's going to happen. Her ceiling, or sorry, her floor is just too high. Like, even if she's playing bad, she's still in the top 3, in my opinion.
Yeah.
A player I think is going to do well here is going to be Natalie Ryan. I think
Mhm.
she's been playing incredibly well. She finished in the top. She was 4th at Open at Austin, and she was
8th at
yeah,
Waco.
eighth at Waco. I mean, she's knocking on the door. She's putting some hot rounds together. This is a course, like you said, it's not extremely long, and I think it has some technical stuff where I think that could be in the conversation. Also, this course, it feels like finish woods with how thick
Mm,
the rough is. It is, I mean, if you've never played in the Austin area, I lived there for a couple years, and there is nothing like those trees. They are sharp. They are, if you go off at all, you cannot go over them. You are in there. It is forehand rollers to scramble. That's all you have. Like, it's ridiculous. So it's going to take someone who can scramble extremely well on both sides of the disc. But yeah, I don't know. I think it's hard not to give it to an own or to a Kristen, but I'd love to see. We had a first we had a first Finnish player win on the MPO side for an Elite Series or Major. I mean, are we going to see a Finnish player win a first Major of the year on the FPO side?
would
I think
love it.
they're both always in the conversation. It just comes down to consistency. It comes down to putting. Always
Yeah.
does. If
Yeah.
Evelina's putting is on like it was at chess.com, I think chess.com was a harder course than this one is.
Yeah, I would say so. I would say so. It'll be fun to watch, man. And I think the coolest thing about it is that it's truly a women's event, and they're doing a lot to support the community right now.
Yep.
I mean, the course is on the property of a brewery, Austin
Yeah.
Beer Works. So they're hosting several events at the brewery. They're doing putting leagues. They're doing movie nights for kids. They've got like free ice cream for kids one night out there. They're doing, I think they've got different little coupons that you can use for all the different places around Austin, or like they have a list of free places to visit in Austin. And they're, because they know that people are coming from all over the world to compete, and there's going to be lots of kids, lots of families. So they really want to make it.
Is an off week for all of the MPO. So we're going to see a ton of MPO players caddying for their friends. I think the environment's going to be great. If you're in the Austin area, the Texas area, I say also it's the state of Texas, but no, the state of Texas is too big to travel.
Too big.
If you live in Texas, you might still have a 9-hour drive. But if you're within the couple-hour drive, it's worth to go to this one because the MPO side of players are going to be very accessible. They're going to be relaxed. They're having a good time. And it's going to be amazing to watch the encouragement and watch the support of both sides of the game here. So I think, all right, who's going to win this tournament? Zach, you're saying own?
I'm putting own in.
All right, you're putting own. I am going to go with a bold one here, and I'm saying Evelina.
Nice.
I think Evelina can do it. I really do. I mean, she hasn't finished outside the top 10 yet, and I think there's a true possibility that she pulls it all together. So, yeah, we're going to find out. And with this being the first major of the year, this is something I actually don't know. I know with DGN coverage, as a normal subscriber, you do not get United States Championships or European Open. Do you know if this U.S. Women's, I don't know if you can look that up real quick, will be on DGN? I don't know. That's something I'm unsure of. So I guess we'll find out, or if Zach can find it here in a bit. I know that there was all the stuff coming out when they first released the tiers of people saying this is the best way to do it, to go free for these events, to have the pro for this. But I haven't seen anything saying it wouldn't be.
Let me see.
So while you're looking that up, we'll talk about one more point here. The baskets. Everyone talks about the baskets all the time. Why don't we have a consistent basket at each course? I was expecting us to go mostly Chain Star Pros for this year. During the Jomez practice round with the two hot geese, honk, they are playing on the MVP baskets, which is interesting because these baskets are the ones that have another rung on the top. So it's actually like a 4 kind of tier rung. So they feel smaller, and all the baskets look taller.
They did look very tall.
The koozies are not touching the ground, which is interesting. I think with the way that a lot of the FPO style of putting, with that being a little bit higher, is going to be interesting from a Circle 2 average. It'll be interesting to see that. And just because there's so many trees near green, Circle 2 might be a little bit low as that as well. So did you find anything about it?
Yeah, so I believe full event select. Yeah, U.S. Women's Disc Golf is on the basic plan.
Awesome. Good to know.
So this week you are good to go. It is Throw Pink and USDGC and the European Open that will be on the higher tiers.
The pro. Gotcha. Awesome. Good to know. Well, there you go. And if you get the higher tier, you get 3 devices, share it with your friends. Kick it back to the old HBO days when everyone would watch Game of Thrones and you had 25 people on your damn login.
Oh yeah.
Oh my God. Incredible.
Gosh,
well,
man.
Starting tomorrow, Thursday, March 21st, the first major of the year, the United States Women's Disc Golf Championship. Should be awesome to see. I'm also excited to see maybe some names of some up and coming women that are going to be playing this tournament, as well as there is, I believe, over 147 players that are not in the FPO division, but are playing this major. So going to be cool to see and track maybe some of the FA1, some of the junior players as well, of, who's going to be seeing them on tour in the next couple of years. So I'm excited for it. First major of the year. But that's it here. Episode 4, Parks Podcast. Hayden, we miss you. We love you. Gage, you've been missed. All of our stuff we said tonight was wrong because we had no fact checks. So let us know in the comments. Leave us a review, 5 stars, whatever you see fit over on Apple and Spotify. Thank you to everyone. 5,000 plays. We are so stoked to see the growth happening here. Follow us over on Instagram at Parked Podcast. Thank you to DGA for making this all possible. And Zach, you want to close us out, brother?
I'm going to do the real one. Peace, love, and disc golf, everybody.
The tension of I don't know. I set it up every time, but I'm worried something else could happen. But peace, love, and disc golf, y'all. Thank y'all for listening, and we'll see you in the next episode.
Thanks, everyone.
Peace.